The Other Side of Fear, a Backpacker's Memoir by Jenni Reavis. Unhidden Heroines, Book 1. Chapter 11. Make Love, Not War. There were red flags with Jose before he even moved in, all of which I ignored to start my business. The first red flag I wasn't able to ignore happened as soon as he moved in. He told me, "I'm okay with you having a cat, but Gracie isn't allowed to sleep with us in our bedroom. I don't want no cat walking on my head while we're trying to sleep." Well, Gracie was my number one, always, and there was no way that would change, and I let him know that. Gracie had slept next to my head since she was a tiny baby. As soon as our business took off, the second red flag I couldn't ignore popped up. He came home from work one afternoon announcing his great news. He was no longer employed. He quit his job so that he could dedicate himself to our new business venture, but didn't bother to talk with me about it first. It was uneasy, like he was up to something, and I definitely didn't trust his intentions. However, I brushed it to the side, telling myself to stop being so negative and start expecting the best. We started our mowers at 6:30 a.m. and often finished with the help of my Jeep headlights by 9 p.m. I found a personal joy and freedom from working outside all day, getting dirty and burned by the sun. It reminded me of the times I'd shared with Randy working in those apartments. I expected things to shift when school started again, since I had planned to attend school 2 nights a week and all day long on Saturdays. However, that's when I started to notice a big change with Jose. When I got home from class, he smelled like perfume. He became very paranoid about protecting his phone and would disappear to go to the store for hours, never returning home with any bags. He always had a very clever way of explaining things, so much that I often questioned my own sanity. Anytime I questioned him, he insisted that my suspicions came from my own jealousy issues, that I was making up everything in my head. I realized I hadn't seen my friends for months, and when I told him I was going to meet Lisa at a local pub for drinks, he became infuriated, telling me that we were Christians and Christians don't drink or go to bars. I went anyway, which ended up with accusations from him that Lisa and I were romantically involved, and that if everything fell apart, it would be my fault for doing things that I shouldn't be doing. He was an exceptionally gifted gaslighting narcissist, and I began to believe that essentially I was the one in the wrong, and that maybe if I kept changing things about myself or my life, that he would stop threatening to leave. I realized I was reliving what I had experienced in my home growing up, the dozens upon dozens of times that my dad would come home smelling like perfume or get caught with women's clothing in his car, and he always had a mastermind approach to convincing my mom that she was certifiably crazy and that these things all existed in her head. I couldn't imagine running this new business by myself. Despite my constant requests that he show me how to use all the equipment, he always told me that I was doing a great job at what I was doing, and I should just stick to that he could handle everything else. I didn't need to know everything. Then I realized he didn't want me to know, because he didn't want me to have power. He wanted me to depend on him. The next weekend, when some of his church friends came over to grill out Sunday after church, as they were laughing about all their children climbing around my big backyard like monkeys, including my lawn equipment, the conversation suddenly got directed to me. "And when will you have yours?" All eyes were on me. I thought they were joking, so I played along and laughed. Oh no, they were dead serious. "Oh, I don't want to have children." The woman gasped. This was an abomination to Latino culture. "After I graduate in May with my associate degree, I want to work on a business degree and eventually get into real estate." When the party left, Jose wanted to have a serious talk about how I embarrassed him in front of his friends. "Nico and I can run the business so that you can stay home with our baby. We have the perfect setup to start a family," he reasoned. "A woman's body isn't built for doing heavy work. It's built for childbearing. You need to nurture your femininity and align yourself with God's plan for your life." He followed with justifications about why, after graduating with my associate degree, I really had no need to keep going to school because we had our own business. I realized I had made a huge mistake by being involved with him, but now everything was meshed together in a very complicated way. I had to be quiet until lawn season was over. I lost my place, sorry. And I started stashing cash to make sure I could cover my mortgage and bills when lawn season ended. I heard him on the phone laughing with a buddy from church. He had not heard me come in. He was telling his friend he was going to mess with my birth control pills so that I would get pregnant. From that point, I stopped having sex with him completely. I could not risk getting pregnant. Besides, I hated to fuck him anyway. Every time we had sex, he begged me for anal. Even though I said no, he would often try anyway, which ended up in an ugly fight. One day, I came up with a crafty plan. After making him go without sex, I went to Chrissy's toy box and bought a massive strap-on dildo. I sent him a sexy text message in my lingerie, saying I was ready for the hottest anal I had ever had in my life. I failed to include in my picture, however, that I was wearing a huge strap-on, ready to take his sweet church boy ass. He raced home, and when he scrambled into the bedroom, already stripped down to his underwear to make his appearance with his hard dick, I was hiding behind the door, waiting for him to walk in, and I shut it behind him. I will never forget the look on his face when he saw me stroking this huge black dick strapped on me. "What the fuck is this?" he sputtered in a shaky voice. "Thought we were going to do anal tonight." I was trying to keep a straight face, but his quivering lip was making it way too hard. I was going to use every single line with him that he used with me. "We are going to do anal tonight. I'll be gentle, I promise." "But I don't want a dick in my ass," he said. "But if you loved me, you would submit your body to me. Do it to bring honor to God." "But that's not what I like. It'll hurt," he protested. "But I have anal fantasies I need to fulfill, and if you can't give them to me, I will have no choice but to cheat on you. And it'll be your choice to destroy everything we're building together since you won't give them to me." He used that one often. It was genius. "Oh, come on, just let me put the tip in," I pleaded. "You'll never know if you like it if you don't try it. Isn't that what you always tell me?" I grabbed his arm and attempted to pull him to me so that I could rub that hard dildo against him. He took off, and I started chasing him around the room, begging and pleading, using all his bullshit lines until he escaped the room. I yelled out the door, "But if you loved me, you'd give it to me." He grabbed his pile of clothes and sprinted out the door. He left crying and stayed out all night. It was common for him to stay out all night mysteriously, but this time I didn't care. Right after that, I got a phone call from one of our mutual friends asking me if I was aware of what was going on with Jose. He had been stalking her. He found out where she worked and would send flowers and chocolate and would drive by and leave notes on her car. He would send her creepy messages about her outfits that he would see her wearing whenever she stepped outside to smoke. Of course, I had no idea that any of this was going on. "I feel so bad," she said. "I have told him I have a boyfriend. I'm not interested in him whatsoever, and I want him to stop. I told him that you were my friend and that he was being disrespectful to you, too. He told me that you told him to write me since you're bisexual because you want to have a threesome." I told her I had no idea this was going on, and it was definitely not something instigated by me. He was doing it behind my back to cheat. I told her that we needed to be smart about it. I needed to get through finals in a couple of weeks and get as much lawn work done as possible. I told her that I wasn't going to say anything yet. In the meantime, any messages he sent her, I requested that she send them to me for evidence. I kept up this charade for a week. While we were together doing jobs, texts would come to my phone from her. Messages that he was sending to her in that very moment that we were working together. He even drove by her work while I was right next to him in the car. This went on for days until one night I hit my limit. I was in the back room studying for finals, and he was sitting in the living room in my house on my couch watching my big screen TV, and he was texting her all kinds of crazy stuff. She was immediately forwarding the text right to me. I walked to the living room pretending to go find some water, and he nervously dropped his phone. "Hi, baby," he said. "Can I help you with something? You know, you're the smartest woman I have ever met, and I am here to help where I can." He was literally two completely different people. The whole experience with him since day one had been a charade. I used the rest of the night to gather all the evidence I needed to confront him. The next morning, I made us breakfast while he loaded up the lawn trailer. When he sat down to eat, he took one bite of his food and shoved it away. "I can eat this shit, it's cold." I felt a flame of rage spark through me so strong my face turned purple. The acid feeling kicked off on my stomach, and I felt it course through my blood and go through my whole body. I imagined grabbing that baseball bat from behind the couch, giving him one good solid blow right in the middle of his head, and burying him in the backyard. It was time for a confrontation. "I want the truth. I think you're seeing someone else," I curtly stated. He scoffed. "That's absurd. You're the love of my life. I've told you that. I'm happy with you. You need to go see a doctor about that imagination that you have in your head." I'm giving you one more chance to tell me the truth, I warned. It'll be easier for you that way. I already have the truth, and I'm giving you the opportunity to tell it to me yourself. He continued to insist that everything was in my head. I brought out all the truth for him. I showed him the phone records and all the texts that Stephanie had sent me over the past few days. He started sobbing. But she's not special to me, he cried. I pulled up the text messages that she'd forwarded me literally the night before and read it to him. Girl, I want to be with you. You are so special for me, it read. Get the fuck out, were my final words. I texted a friend, please come with locks. As I waited for his arrival, Jose followed me around the house, begging and pleading while I gathered all of his things. I shoved him and his stuff right out the door. A friend of his came to pick him and his things up at the moment my friend showed up to help me change the locks. The next day, I found out that Jose and his friends had gotten pulled over for running a red light, and every single one of them got deported. Karma's a bitch, one that I always want to be in my favor. After that phone call, I realized the secret hidey hole where I had been stashing cash wasn't so secret after all. He had taken it all. Every bill, as well as the gallon jar where I had been saving loose change for over a year. I couldn't even report him. But I didn't have time to cope with any of my new wounds. I had $6.71 in my bank account with a mortgage payment due, a stack of credit card bills piling up for my new business debt, and a lawn season that was officially over. I had to look for work, once again fully functioning in survivor mode. I did, however, make note that instead of carrying a weapon for protection in the future, it may be a more effective strategy to pull out a dildo instead of a knife, because that would possibly be more threatening to a man than a gun or a knife.